Have you ever heard of Mabo Dofu? For years, I only knew its more common name, Mapo Tofu, the classic Sichuan dish. So when I saw a recipe called Mabo Dofu in the Persona official cookbook, I was a little confused. It turns out that's simply how the name is pronounced in Japan, a slight change as the dish crossed borders and was adapted for the local palate. In a way, that small shift in identity is the perfect entry point for our story today, because for Rise Kujikawa, this dish is so much more than a simple name change. It's a metaphor of her breakthrough to accept the many qualities of her character, shy and emotional, but confident. Tofu is incredible. It can be mixed in with any recipe or flavor. They're very similar to each other. She just doesn't know it yet. So today, we're not just making a delicious meal that you might find at the Mapo Tofu shop. We're cooking our way through an identity crisis and exploring Rise's profound journey to self-acceptance. Let's get into it. When we first meet Rise Kujikawa, she isn't the confident navigator we come to know on the investigation team. Rise is having a full-blown identity crisis. She's a national pop idol, Risette, who's suddenly taken a break from her massive career to come back from her quiet hometown of Inaba. She's working at her grandmother's tofu shop, Mapo Tofu, basically hiding from the world. She's caught between two personas. On one side, there's Risette, the manufactured product created by an industry that cares more about marketability than a real person. On the other hand, there's just Rise, the girl from the countryside who feels lost and boring without the stage lights. She has no idea which one is the real her, or if the real Rise even exists anymore. To understand how she finds the answer, we have to start where she does, back at her family's tofu shop. So before we dive deeper into Rise's story, let's get our ingredients in order. Any good Mabo Dofu is all about the prep. We'll start with the soul of this dish, the tofu. I'm using silken tofu, which is incredibly soft and delicate. We'll want to cut it into neat half-inch cubes. Be gentle with it. This stuff can fall apart if you're too rough. Next, we're going to create our sauce. In a bowl, we're going to combine 1.5 tablespoons of sesame oil into 1.5 cups of water, 1.5 teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder, 1 tablespoon of doubanjiang, otherwise known as chili bean paste, 1 tablespoon oyster sauce, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce for that deep umami, 2 tablespoons of mirin for some sweetness, and 2 tablespoons of red miso paste. Give everything a good whisk until it's all incorporated together and set it aside. And don't forget to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch like I almost did. We need it as a thickening agent for our dish. Finally, for our aromatics, we'll mince 4 cloves of garlic, mince a tablespoon's worth of ginger, and slice 3 green onions, separating the white and green parts. With all our components prepped and waiting, just like the fragmented pieces of Rise's identity, it's time to bring them all together in the heat of the wok. On a wok on high heat, add some oil and about half a pound of ground pork. Use your spatula to break it apart into small pieces and let that meat cook through until it's nicely browned, about 7 to 10 minutes. Add the garlic, ginger, and the white parts of the green onions. Stir the aromatics constantly for about 1 minute until they are fragrant. Now it's time to bring it all together. Let's grab that sauce we mixed earlier. Give it one last stir to make sure the starch hasn't settled at the bottom, and pour it into the wok. Stir it all together, and when you start to see it bubble, gently add our delicate tofu cubes to the wok. Don't stir aggressively here, just gently fold them in the wok. Let it cook for another 3 to 5 minutes until the tofu is coated and warmed through and the sauce has thickened. Now as this comes together, you can really see how it differs from traditional Mapo Tofu. Typically, a Chinese Mapo Tofu would have Sichuan peppercorns and dried red chilies, which give it that signature numbing spiciness. That's not really present here. The only spicy ingredient here is the chili bean paste, and the recipe only calls for a tablespoon, so it's definitely mild. Instead, it uses Japanese ingredients like mirin for sweetness and miso paste for that deep, savory umami flavor. The sauce has thickened up perfectly, clinging to every piece of pork and every cube of silky tofu. Let's plate this up. A bed of fluffy white rice, a generous scoop into the bowl, and then we'll finish it with a sprinkle of the green parts of freshly chopped green onions. And our Mabo Dofu is ready, faithfully created straight from the Persona Cookbook. Looks pretty similar to the cookbook, wouldn't you say? But the real test isn't how it looks, but how all those combined elements taste. When you take that first bite, it's apparent that this is not your traditional Mapo Tofu. The signature heat and kick of spiciness is not really present here. But this silken tofu is so soft and creamy, it really melts in your mouth. The sauce still has a great balance of sweet, salty and rich umami flavor, and the ground meat provides an excellent contrast in texture to the tofu. Everything works together in harmony. It's a dish that's comforting and complex all at once. I'm used to using firm tofu when I make Mapo Tofu because my son likes the firmer cubes, so this is a nice, pleasant change. Also, that incredibly soft, melt-in-your-mouth quality of the silken tofu isn't just a refreshing change, it's the key to the dish's symbolism. This very tofu is deeply symbolic of Rise's character. Her supportive grandma is the one who helps her see it. Her grandma says that she's like tofu. Tofu looks weak and fragile, but is actually pretty resilient. Even though it stands out because it's not like any other food, it can be mixed with any recipe or flavor. Tofu is incredible. But Rise says she's nothing like that. She doesn't see that resilience in herself. Before she was an idol, Rise was bullied. She didn't even choose showbiz. Someone else sent in her application. Fame became a mask. Everyone saw Rise, but no one saw the real her. This fed her deepest fear, that underneath it all, she was just a shallow, objectified image, and that the real her was a fake, an empty shell. But her grandma understands that strength isn't always loud. Resilience can be quiet. Tofu is soft, but not weak. Its resilience comes from its ability to adapt. This is where the tofu in our pan becomes the perfect metaphor. The tofu, representing Rise's core self, is introduced to the complex, flavorful sauce of her experiences. But the tofu doesn't dissolve or fight the sauce, it absorbs it. The tofu takes on the flavors of everything around it, becoming richer and more complete, while still maintaining its own form. This is exactly what Rise learns to do. Her journey isn't about rejecting being an idol, it's about integration. She realizes that she doesn't have to choose. The idol, the student, the granddaughter, all of these parts can exist together to form one whole, authentic person. This acceptance is what lets her awaken to her persona and become a true, supportive part of the team. What we're left with, both in Rise's story and in our bowl, is a beautiful, harmonious whole. Overall, I would definitely recommend this dish. If you're someone who doesn't tolerate spicy food, this is right up your alley. The tofu is delicious, and the pork blends in really well. It's a dish that is simple to make, yet has many layers of flavors. It's savory, a little sweet, and deeply comforting. This still contains a lot of the key elements you'd expect in a Mapo Tofu, just minus the heavy heat. This is the taste of self-acceptance. For Rise, coming home to her grandmother's tofu shop was about finding a safe space for herself. A dish like Mabo Dofu becomes a symbol of that comfort. By embracing every part of herself, the Risette and the Rise, she found a strength she never knew she had. She learned that identity isn't about choosing one thing, but about creating a beautiful, harmonious dish from all the ingredients you're given. It's a reminder that we are all complex, multifaceted beings, and that our true strength is in accepting every single part of ourselves. If you enjoyed this blend of cooking and character analysis, it would be amazing if you subscribe to this channel. Do any other video game foods hold a special meaning to you? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video the next time we cook with character. Until then, take care everyone.